Alright, welcome back to the Growing Lemon Trees from Seed series. It's day 1013, so that's 2.77 years. I'm spraying some of this Bayer Bio-Advanced anti-mite, anti-disease, anti-insect spray. So this stuff is pretty mild. I've had questions about its efficacy, but it's been a few months, so I figured I might as well spray this, although this dilution has been made for a very long time. And you can see these Farmer's Defense sleeves that I'm wearing. So yeah, if you're interested, go over to Farmer's Defense. I have a link in the description. And I have other styles that you can see later on in this video. So now I'm just hand spraying. And here's the Bayer Bio Advanced. It's day 1020. So it's a 3-in-1 insect disease and mite control. And like most of these products, it has this cup. So just fill it manually, and I was making 2 gallons worth at the time. So it's just this thick, milky looking sap. It's kind of like milky sap from certain kinds of plants. So yeah, ended up being like 5 point something fluid ounces, and then just add cold tap water and swirl around. So that's basically it. I've had this Hudson Pro Never Pump battery powered sprayer for quite a while. It fits 4 gallons, so it's a great backpack sprayer. The straps aren't necessarily the most easy thing to get on when that thing is full and weighs quite a few pounds, but yeah, overall I really enjoy using this thing. I figured since I have all my watering needs and water spraying needs met by the wand I've attached to the garden hose out front. But yeah. So this thing can be used exclusively for pesticide spray, I feel. Or yeah, I can't really think of any other purposes right now. So it's day 1040, and you can see my new Brooks shoes. I really like those. But anyway, yeah, I just have my feet spinning the pot around while I film. That's the easiest way rather than having. I used to have one of those a couple of years ago, if you've stuck with my channel for that long. One of those like lazy Susans or whatever you want to call them, like a cheap plastic thing that has, slides around on ball bearings. So I use that to rotate my plants. But yeah, there's a new shoot coming out of the bottom, and it's a very welcome sight, although it seems kind of unnecessary. But I think with all the death and destruction to this main stem, which is looking really worse for wear, and it's losing all of its leaves, it's becoming denuded. Yeah, I'm glad to see all these other shoots that look really lush. And caterpillar plague really destroyed a lot of the foliage, more than decimated. And you can see even up here, there's a lot of holes. Caterpillars aren't the only things that eat these. Whenever I'm not looking, snails come up here. And yeah, there are probably other pests as well. So this is this shower wand attachment that I got at Lowe's not too long ago. It's really, really good. And you can see the main stem, it's kind of off to the side. It's sort of imbalanced and top heavy. Kind of unsightly. I hope the sides sprout some new shoots to this main stem and gives it a more bushy look. But as of right now, none of this is really a problem though, because it's not top heavy enough, any of these branches, to blow over in the wind. So I haven't had that problem, but as you can see, when you're showering this thing, it looks like they're about to fall over and snap off. So my tendency is just to keep showering until the catch tray is overflowing and full. And this thing dries out pretty quickly, but this plant hasn't grown big enough really to justify a transplant to something bigger. And I've never had the amount of success that I've had in 2022 before, so now I have several plants that are growing faster than I know what to do with. So but at the time this was filmed, this was going into winter time, and basically the weather got really cold by San Diego standards, which is to mean not very cold elsewhere. But so yeah, it's day 1069, and it was very cold, windy, and very, very rainy. And people started talking about super blooms in the media. And, it's a good thing for most plants. Although for my homegrown plants, I mean, I'm supplying them with all the water and nutrients they need. So there were a lot of days where the pots, plants that were just sitting outside like this, not under any roof awning or anything, they were just getting their cocoa coir mix washed out by essentially what's, sky fallen distilled water. So you can see a lot of new shoots coming up. They're sort of yellowish. There's not a lot of sunlight in these winter months, and hence everything takes forever to turn green. And also because the temperatures are cold outside, the plants develop a lot slower. So this was coming off a caterpillar plague, and it's still got a lot of scars as a testament to what it just went through, and snails and slugs and all sorts of bugs, really. Like everything likes to eat lemon. So this is day 1083. You could see the shoots are actually coming along quite nicely. So the foliage is being replenished. I haven't seen any new caterpillars recently. And there was that one, I think in the last episode, I knocked it off like a dead cocoon that was like half eaten actually. I didn't recognize that for a long time. I was hoping a butterfly would come out. I never saw a butterfly emerge from a chrysalis, either from the soil or from, yeah, that one on the main trunk at the base. Yeah, that was long gone. It's like a big animal came over, took a bite out, and just stopped eating and just left the rest there. So, yeah, this is coming along nicely. I think by spring or maybe summer of 2023, this thing will fill out really, really nicely. But as of now, it's shedding some leaves, and this alternative stem coming out at the bottom looks really nice. I always like the new growth. It looks really nice. So you can see this is how I water. I water until the catch tray is full, which is not that hard to do in a pot like this of such a small size. But actually the cocoa coir absorbs of an astonishing amount of water. So you could be showering with that shower wand attachment I just showed you like forever and ever, and until you finally see the water entering the catch tray. So the water flow is actually quite fast, and it takes quite a while of watering. And for the larger pots, like the papaya, what is it, the ice cream bean, and the other pot with the cadota figs, I transplanted in bigger pots, and had the worry of those blowing over, which they did, but I kind of negated all of that by moving them to close to the wall over there. In the background, as you could see. So yeah, things blowing over, that's a concern that I never really had before on apartment balconies, and now that I have this like open sort of little courtyard in the front, yeah, the wind in the middle can be ferocious because Southern California is a pretty windy place. So we get Santa Ana winds on average 23 times a year, and this year we've had winter storms too. So those were really annoying. I just come home from work and need to go out in the cold rain and basically straighten out all my plants. So this is day 1092. So we've had some unusually cold weather with heavy winds, heavy rains, and these are snails all over the place. So it's pretty disgusting. This was the night in which my mango plant blew over, and it keeps blowing over because it's a cutting. It's not grown from seed. So the fruit will be true to form. Actually, if you look at this snail shell, it looks like it's broken, and some flesh is exposed. And here's one. I don't even know if these are the same species. Maybe that's just a young one. An older one. Sometimes I see white shells too. So maybe there's several species. I'm not a gastropod expert, but they're eating a dead papaya leaf. My papaya plant shed so many leaves. It looks pretty pathetic now, but the trunk got really thick towards the end of fall, and I bet it's in sort of a stasis right now. So I use craft wire to tie my mango, support it by tying it to this air conditioning compressor outside. And I saw two big snails. You can see a snail dropping on the top of this photo. Two big snails were trying to figure out how they were going to walk this sky wire to get to my mango plant and eat it. So they're pretty voracious, and you can see on the rim of the pot below, the rim on the outside, there's another snail too, towards the bottom left of this photo. So it's really disgusting. You can see the mango plant's leaves are starting to decay a little bit. Yeah, even without the snails, it was kind of suffering from the wet cold winter, and it's obviously not this wet and cold in the tropics where it comes from. You can see snail on a snail dropping over there. So after this, actually, I was in a continual process almost throughout the winter of sprinkling iron phosphate pellets, as I've shown in many previous video series updates for 2022. That's one of the things I like using the most. Iron phosphate isn't harmful to mammals or birds, so it really only seems to affect these gastropods, slugs and snails. So here's a slug. I've actually never seen a slug in my front yard or in any of my other places before. So it's basically just a snail without a shell. The ones around here are small, unlike in Northern California. You have those huge yellow banana slugs in the redwood forests. Here in Southern California, this is like a first for me. This is on my Cadota fig pot, and you can see a bigger one here, a bigger slug that has sort of an ulcer in the middle of its body. So these things are just gross, and with all the rain that was washing away all the iron phosphate pellets, and just the general wetness and heavy rains in general, that probably attracted a ton of these and spawned a ton of snails and slugs and other nasty pests. So it's day 1104, and as you can see, this alternative shoot, it's developing at a slow pace. It's not very green, and as I've said before, it just seems to take longer for everything to turn green and grow in the winter. So all things considered, I would say this citrus plant did pretty well in the winter compared to all of my other plants. It seems to have grown the most, maybe at second place compared to my ice cream bean that was growing at a torrid pace until I finally pruned it, because that's cutting too, so it grows all lopsided, and that thing kept falling over because it has huge compound leaves. You can see it in the background on the right over there. And after I pruned it, it just kind of really slowed down and went dormant for a while. But the lemon's doing pretty well. I think better than virtually all my others. Actually, the mango's been doing quite well too, despite the winter and despite the expectations of a jungle plant not doing well in this semi-arid chaparral environment of Southern California. So yeah, that's my update for the lemon. You can see my Brooks shoes, new pair, looks pretty nice. So yeah, this thing doesn't look too hot on the main stem, but the rest of it is really filling out nicely. It's turning very bushy. So I'm expecting this thing to have a really great 2023, and I expect to do a transplant at some point into a bigger pot. Thanks for watching, and please stay tuned to my channel for further updates.